Hey guys, today I'm back with another Call of Duty mobile video, and in today's video I'm super excited to finally be bringing you guys the BK57 review. I've been wanting to do this one for a while, and in that time some things have come up. Obviously you guys might have heard about a potential nerf, so in this video today I'm going to be addressing that, but I'll also be doing the usual things in the weapon review that I do, so you guys will have, all the stats, and I'll give you guys a class setup as well. But before I get into all that, I would love if you guys could hit the like and subscribe button. We hit 80 on the stream today, and I'm kind of on the, final stretch to reaching 100, so it will be amazing if you guys could do that for me. But without further ado, now let's get into the review. As always guys, I'm going to start with the damage and range first. So the BK57 is a 4-shot kill out to 15 meters, a 5-shot kill out to 35 meters, and after that it stays as at a 6-shot kill. Apologies for the fumble there, but that does make this a pretty high damage and good range weapon, so a lot of the assault rifles in the game are like that. 4-shot kills up close is absolutely lethal and is really good, and 5-shot kills all the way out to 35 meters is also quite fast, so overall I would consider those stats really good on this weapon. Up next, to give you a full picture of the time to kill, it fires at just over 650 rounds a minute, so in this game that's a pretty high fire rate. Again, if you guys have played a lot of other shooters, especially ones on PC and console, guns tend to fire a bit faster on average, but most of the weapons have an average, slightly lower rate of fire in this game, so that is actually quite high. You guys will feel that using this weapon compared to other assault rifles. It does feel like it sprays out bullets really fast. Overall, that means you'll get a pretty good time to kill out of the BK57 at any range, and that is its main strength. I would say that you can use this competitively at pretty much every range. Now that we've had a good look at time to kill, we'll discuss recoil for a bit, and the BK57 is interesting in that it kind of has equal amounts of vertical and horizontal recoil. So for you guys, that means that, vertical recoil is kind of how much you have to pull down, and horizontal is how much you have to control it just jumping from side to side randomly. So generally we like vertical recoil more. You guys probably will find overall that the recoil on this weapon is pretty controllable and it's not too bad, but here's where some of the talk about the stealth nerf has kind of come in. So a few people have claimed that without telling us, Activision have kind of increased the recoil or made it more jumpy, and because the BK57 was too good or whatever, or too popular, but I don't think that this has been the case. I've tried to test it and I just in general use this weapon a lot, so I don't believe so based on what I know, but I'm definitely not 100% sure about that. So if you guys think or know something different in the comments, definitely let me know, because I'd be really interested to find out. As far as I can tell though, they haven't done anything to it, so I guess that's that. Finally guys, we'll go over the handling stats, so that's where I talk about the mobility of the weapon, whether that's aiming or not, and how well it hip fires and how fast it ADSs. So most of these are probably right in the middle for assault rifles. Again, assault rifles generally handle pretty well. I feel like I say this every video because I've covered so many assault rifles, so if you guys are sick of me saying that, I apologize, but just in case you guys are new, this weapon and assault rifles in general tend to have fairly good, not absolute top tier, but fairly good stats when it comes to, again, how fast you can run with it and how good the hipfire spread is, and how quickly you can ADS with it, so that's going from unscoped to scoped. Weapons that handle better tend to favor more aggressive playstyles, but I do think for stats now we've covered everything, so I want to talk a little bit about how you should use this weapon and how good I think it is. In terms of it being the best assault rifle, it is absolutely a contender and probably is my #1 pick, although it's really close. Certain other ARs like the LK24 and the KN44 are really close competitors to the BK57 just because they're so similar. They maybe handle slightly better and have a little bit better recoil control, but their rate of fire is a bit worse, so there's a bit of a time to kill trade-off there. The ASM-10 is also a very different weapon, but it too is very competitive, and just because of that time to kill, and you can use it out to range or longer ranges. Although that being said, I probably would rather have a BK57 at range just because the recoil control is so good. And finally, the AK-117 is also a faster firing, but I guess the time to kill is not quite as good up close, but as you get out to distance, that gun is, stays as an absolute laser beam, so that's really good too. And I believe that any 5 of those assault rifles are, really viable. They're all very close competitors, and honestly, a lot of it is just personal preference. I encourage you guys to try out all of those weapons if you can. I think they're all fantastic and you'll do really well with them. But yes, if I have to pick one, I do think it's the BK57 by a tiny, tiny margin. While it doesn't necessarily excel in one area, it's absolutely, it's unbelievably versatile. You can use it up close because of the time to kill, you can use it at mid-range because of the recoil control, and it still does good damage, and then at long range, if you're just spraying down so many bullets where there'll be a lot of misses, it doesn't punish you that hard at long range, so you can use it pretty much however you want. It's not like some weapons where I recommend you being really aggressive or you're staying at a distance. This gun is the one-size-fits-all weapon of this game. Now that I've given you guys my thoughts about the weapon though, we're also going to cover a class setup just real quick. To start with, guys, I've put the red dot sight on this weapon, so I know a lot of people do like the iron sight, and if you do, you definitely should go for it because you get a faster like aim down sight or scope in time, but I definitely think that, especially in that mid-range area where this weapon excels, the red dot sight helps a lot just with, landing all your shots, even if you do aim slightly slower, so I'm willing to make that trade-off, but if you like the iron sights, that's perfectly viable too. I've got the stock on here next, and that's because this weapon doesn't need an extended mag. If you want to put it on, you can and just have, heaps of bullets coming out of it, but it already has 35 rounds as it is, and I think that's plenty, so I don't run extended mag on this weapon, and instead I've got stock. The other two attachments are pretty stock standard. We've got quick draw and foregrip on there, and quick draw obviously helps you aim faster, so that's really good because you can start shooting your enemies earlier, and foregrip is just to help control that recoil, so to help use this weapon out at longer ranges. For the perks, guys, I've got Flak Jacket on number 1, and I do think that this is a really good perk now, especially because it can kind of protect you from gravity spikes, which people are, using. I do think it's probably used a bit too much in multiplayer and maybe needs, functionally it's okay, but it probably charges a bit too fast, and maybe they can nerf that. But for the time being, I've got that on just to protect you from the launchers, rocket launchers, grenade launchers, all that stuff, and of course the gravity spikes. For perk 2, again, this is kind of like a pet peeve of mine now, but I really hate that one score streak has kind of changed the entire perk 2 meta, but I run cold-blooded on here because being shocked by a shock RC is just a disaster, and there's so many of them running around because they're so easy to get, so that is my number 2 perk. And perk 3 is, of course, good old Dead Silence. Again, I run this on pretty much every loadout, guys. Not letting your enemies hear you is such a big deal, and you can gain so much, especially in game modes like Search and Destroy, from hearing the enemies, so that's pretty much an essential for me. The rest of it, guys, is really up to you though. As you can see, I'm a filthy gravity spikes user now. I'm sorry, but unfortunately that kind of is the best way to remain competitive, so I'm running that right now, especially for my sweaty loadouts. I've hit legendary recently, and obviously now that's kind of merciless when I play ranked, so I have to, try to be as good as I can. But I do think that's all I've got for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed or if you learned anything, be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons. I'll be back with more, and I'll see you all in the next one.